Sports Radio 1400, an iHeartRadio station available everywhere on our free iHeartRadio app. Number one for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set.
Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
It is hour number 2. That's drive time right here on the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina. And if you are making your way around the great state of South Carolina right now, you are doing the same thing that our guest who joins the program is also doing. Our good buddy William Qualkenbush set to join the program here momentarily, but he's traveling, so we're not going to have him via video today. He will just be along for the ride with us on the audio side of things. So always good to catch up with Qualk here on the Monday afternoon. Qualk, what is going on, big guy? Glad to have you back in the saddle hanging out with us today, brother.
Swanee, it's good to be here, and if I'm here and it's almost September, that means we're about to talk about a game, I hope. That is the plan at this time, right?
Well, they'll be fighting like cats and dogs up in Charlotte this weekend. I know everybody's excited about it. But, you know, for me, this game has always been special because I grew up when these two teams were facing each other like 19 out of 20 years. I mean, that was sort of my when I was being groomed by this sport that we all love called college football. But for whatever reason, whether it be proximity, whether it be the connections between the national championship in 80 for Georgia and 81 for Clemson prior to the success Clemson's had, this just always has felt so special.
You know, it is a special game, and I got to be honest. You know, it's more special for me. This is interesting. I'm not trying to let everybody know how different we are in age, but it's special for me because I don't know a time where Clemson and Georgia have played every year. And so, yes, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, absence makes the heart grow fonder a little bit. Like, to me, keeping it exclusive was good. Because could you imagine if Clemson and Georgia – I mean, think about this, okay? This is a bit of an alternate reality, but let's just live here for a second. Can you imagine if Clemson and Georgia had played each other when Ray Goff and Jim Donnan were winning 6 or 7 games in the 90s and Tommy West is winning 6 games in the 90s and sometimes 3 games in the 90s? Would we be clamoring? And I understand we're going to be clamoring for this one because it's a top 5 matchup. But we wouldn't be clamoring for it every single year where we say, God, could you imagine? Like, think about when they played every year. It was awesome. The reason it was awesome when they played every year is because they were awesome most every year. So it was almost like the rivalry discontinued at the exact right time for us to, like, almost establish and keep this great reverence that we have for it. It's a little bit weird like that.
No, that's a valid point. And now you really look at where these two teams are and where they've been in recent years. Both teams been on the national stage. I mean, I think you could make the argument as close as Clemson was a couple of times to, well, at least in 2015 to knocking off Alabama, and the way that game concluded out in Arizona. I mean, Georgia's game against Alabama in the national championship was equally as close, if not closer, to a Bulldog title. And I think they feel like they want to be what Clemson is. Is that what really sticks in the craw right now in the Classic City when it comes down to their fan base? It's not, hey, they want to be Alabama per se. I think they just want to be Clemson, right? They just want to hoist the national championship or two.
That's exactly right. I put a couple of polls up on Twitter, and look, Twitter is no way to gauge public opinion, okay? It's just not. You can tamper. It's horrible.
Noted.
But I said, Clemson fans, right. And I said, Clemson fans, how are you feeling, excited or nervous? And I got, several hundred responses, and Clemson fans said 76%, I believe was the final, said that they were excited. 24% said nervous. I thought, okay, it's 3-1. Even if we're saying that people tampered or they're just straight up lying, we're talking about a 70-30 fan base. Well, I said, all right, Georgia fans, well, how do you feel? And, a few hundred responses, about half the size of the Clemson contingent, which makes me think it was probably fairly legit. 81% said nervous. 19% said excited. And what I said was, I used a biblical example this morning, Swanee, where, like, in the Bible, we're told to walk by faith and not by sight. And I said, you know what? That's great. That sounds awesome. But I'd much rather walk by sight if I can. There's a reason I'm not going to walk in by faith, because it's hard. And right now, Clemson fans are walking by sight because they've seen it. They know how to win these games. They know what it looks like. They know what the formula is. They understand exactly what their team needs to do to win. Georgia fans haven't won a game of this magnitude in decades. I'm not talking about a top 10 Florida team in the middle of October or the beginning of November. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about beating a depleted Auburn team to win the SEC a few years ago and then beating Oklahoma in a national championship. You could say that Oklahoma game was probably as close as they've got. I'm talking about when you face the king, okay? And Alabama's the king, not just right now because they won the title, but they're the king in this era of college football. To get to Alabama, if Clemson's in your way, you got to beat them. That Oklahoma game, I would argue, that was two light programs. That wasn't Georgia punching up that game. We're talking about, in this instance, Georgia punching up, not from a talent standpoint, not necessarily even from a tradition standpoint, if you look through the ages, but I am talking about punching up from a legitimate program in the moment standpoint. They are punching up. They have not done what Clemson has done the last 10 years. They thought that, I think a lot of SEC programs believe this. They thought that conference affiliation would save them and condemn others. It's worked the opposite way. They thought that having somebody from Nick Saban's coaching tree would get them inside the mind. What it's done is it's gotten Kirby Smart inside his own head, where he has totally flubbed two opportunities to beat Saban to the point that I'm not sure if you spotted Kirby Smart 21 points in a game and said, go, I think you could injure Alabama's top 10 players and they still wouldn't beat them. That's how big of a mental block Kirby Smart has in games against Nick Saban. I don't know how Kirby Smart will respond to this. I do know this. The last time these two teams played, Clemson got the better on their home field in 2013. Georgia got the better in their home field in 2014, and you could say beyond a shadow of a doubt that the better team won. Now, the host team won, but I think in those games the better team won. There was nothing fluky happened in this game. I think the same is true the last time they met in, 02, 03, where Clemson kept it close against a really good Georgia team that was supposed to slaughter them, but Georgia still wins. Field goal at the end, if I'm not mistaken, either Clemson missed or
Clemson was short.
Something like that.
Yeah, Clemson left it short.
That's right. That's right. And then Georgia pasted Clemson in 03 with a better team. The better team wins this game. You can go back to the 80s. More often than not, the better team wins. If Georgia loses this game, it's going to be because Clemson was better, period. Not better in the game, not better on the day, just better. And if Georgia wins the game over Clemson, then the opposite is true. And now we got to start adding, at least for the moment, a third, maybe a fourth team, if you include Ohio State, into that elite conversation, even though Georgia still has to beat Alabama, I think, to firmly place itself in that group with Alabama, Clemson, and maybe Ohio State.
He's on Twitter at Qualk Talk. He joins us every Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock as you make your way home. And Qualk, I would ask you this, too, from Kirby Smart's standpoint. Look, we saw what happened with Scott Frost in Nebraska over the weekend, and that's a completely different situation for multiple reasons. But there are these conversations, these innuendos, I guess, maybe behind closed doors that, well, he's just a great recruiter, but he can't win the big ball game. I mean, if they get beat by Clemson, you see what he continues to do on the recruiting trail. They rack up 4- and 5-star guys left and right as good as anybody. I mean, like, what kind of situation is he dealing with if the Tigers do come out on top in this season opener?
Well, I think what you're asking is basically how hot is his seat going to be in some quarters. And look, his seat's going to be hot with some members of his fan base. There's no getting around it, okay? And especially, let's say midnight, 1, 2 a.m. on Saturday night into Sunday morning. That's going to be the talk on every single Georgia message board, right? Like, once again, Kirby can't win the big game. I had a guy text our show today and say, Kirby's 0-5 against college football playoff participants, losing by an average of 15 points a game. That's not something Georgia wants to be known for. They don't want to be known for basically getting on the dance floor and being knocked out of the competition right at the jump. That's not who they are, or that's not who they think they are. I'll say it that way. But I don't think necessarily that Kirby is going to be on a legitimate hot seat, because let's be clear about this. great recruiter, not sure he can coach in a game. Look at his results, Swanee. You're talking about you can't be – and I know that Georgia fans want more than this. I get it. If the shoe was on the other foot, Clemson fans would too. You cannot get rid of a guy who recruits in top 5 every single year and finishes in the top 10 every single year. You can't do that just because he can't win the big game right now. And the fact remains that historically, there are two kinds of coaches that 98% of the country has. A lot of these coaches are only this to a certain degree, which is why they never are successful. You either have coaches who recruit really well or you have coaches that scheme really well. Now, some of them are not very good at one or the other. And again, some of them are at wasteland places, so you have no idea, right? You still have to implement it at your place. Kirby Smart is an elite recruiter. I think for some reason we give those people a bad rap, like they can't coach or something like that. And I understand that there's a little bit of a roll the ball out strategy. I even said that Georgia's whole program is built on having a better Jimmy than your Jimmy and having a better Joe than your Joe when you line up 11 on 11. But that is still a way to win. A lot of places have done that, It's only been recently, in my opinion, that the best players sometimes haven't been what gets you over the top, right? I mean, think about the great dynasties in sports. Didn't they have the best players? I mean, we know about Bud Wilkinson's defensive alignment, but didn't he have the best players? When Vince Dooley won in 1980, didn't he have Herschel Walker? I mean, it's not like Vince Dooley was out here scheming around a bunch of knockoffs and scrubs, right? I mean, didn't Danny Ford build great rosters in the 80s? Didn't Miami have some of the best teams you've ever seen? Didn't Nebraska with Tom Osborne have maybe the best team ever in 1995? Isn't Nick Saban full of great players right now? I mean, yeah, you got a coach, but we act like recruiting is some negligible part that if you can't, if you're not perfect in games, then it doesn't even matter if you can recruit. Recruiting is 80% of this deal, particularly if you set up a program like Georgia. They cannot afford to get dissatisfied with where they are because the alternative is a bunch of 6 and 7 win seasons in a conference where there are a bunch of good recruiting programs that also develop pretty well that would eagerly take Georgia's spot in a heartbeat if they were to fall.
William Qualkenbush is on Twitter at Qualk Talk every day from noon until 3 o'clock. Out of bounds with Qualk and Kelly, 105.5 The Roar in the upstate. So for those people keeping up at home over the weekend, and I mentioned this in hour number 1, you probably saw where UConn just got obliterated by Fresno State 45-0. And some people out there saying, look, UConn may be one of the worst teams in all of college football. They're on Clemson's schedule. The schedule has been criticized ad nauseum. I mean, Qualk, let's be honest. Clemson should have, because of what they've done and who they've been, if they were to get defeated on Saturday by the Georgia Bulldogs, one of the top 5 teams in the country, Clemson should have enough there to, you would believe, if they go undefeated the rest of the way, to get into the college football playoff. But it is interesting that over the weekend, not a single analyst from ESPN, and again, they're analysts, they make their calls, but not a single one had the Tigers in the national championship game. I mean, is this one of those, I don't want to call it a make or break year, right, for Dabo Swinney by any means, but is this one of those years where Clemson's really teetering on being on the outside of this whole thing for the first time in a long time, in not just the mind's eye of maybe the experts, but maybe a lot of people nationally, if they do come up short in this game against the Bulldogs out of the gates?
I think it depends on what it is. There will be some that would say, maybe Clemson's descending a bit. They would obviously point to the recruiting gap over time between Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, and Clemson's inability to substantially close that gap. I mean, I would remind people that in 2016 and 2018, there was still a gap between Clemson and Alabama, and Clemson was able to beat Alabama. There were gaps between Clemson and other teams that didn't make it. So I don't understand why that's all of a sudden this new thing, like Alabama and Ohio State haven't always had better players. But that's really neither here nor there, because what you said is Clemson going to be on the outside looking into this thing? I think if Clemson loses by double digits to Georgia, that will be 3 consecutive times where Clemson kind of got his hat handed to him not counting Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's tricky. We have to remind people that Notre Dame was in the playoff, but among the programs that are punching in Clemson's weight class, so to speak, right? I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs here, not counting Notre Dame in that category because they've been in 2 of the last 3 playoffs. But I understand why people would say, you played LSU, you got smacked. You played Ohio State, you got smacked worse. You played Georgia, you got smacked again. That's 3 in a row. This program now is basically Oklahoma, right? I don't think that's true if Clemson loses close Because I do think even though Clemson is a 3.5 point favorite right now, that you are seeing a lot of people take Georgia, and you are seeing a lot of people put Georgia in the playoff. So I don't think it's going to be like fair to call Georgia an underdog in this game. I don't think it's going to be fair to say that Clemson is necessarily an underdog in this game either, because I think both teams have legitimate factors in their corner. But I get why you're asking that question, though. I get what you're saying, because it would be easy to say, boy, 3 double-digit losses in a row. This is something Dabo's not had to deal with. You know, do you need to start making some changes at the very top and start talking about Clemson more like Oklahoma and Georgia, honestly, and less like Alabama and Ohio State at this moment?
It is going to be a fun game to watch. I don't think anybody denies that fact, just given what's at stake for both of these teams, and certainly the old rivalry still always going to be there. But always good to have game day back. And I did get to watch this weekend, and I talked about this a little bit earlier too. You know, Kirk Herbstreit's phenomenal. The job that he does is spectacular. I don't really care who you put in the host seat. But there was probably a time in my life where I was like, man, they need to, Lee Corso needs to go on. He just needs to go away. But I got to say, he's crossed over into this realm of kind of being like my grandpa, and I want him there for as long as I can have him. And wasn't it nice, Qualt, to be able to see him on the set after having him away for a year during, COVID's issues a season ago?
Yeah, I mean, I did like being able to see him on the set. It gives you a little sense of normalcy. And there, having a high school football a couple of weeks, I can tell you, it feels more normal, but not all the way normal. So I like the times where it feels kind of all the way normal. I will say with Corso, though, like, it makes me uncomfortable to see him in decline. Like you said, he's kind of like your grandpa, but it makes him uncomfortable to see him decline. And you know what? Bottom line, it is a show that's about analysis. I think he has a role in the, like, giving the passion and, like, basically being a kid on the set, right? That's always been kind of his deal. And I think they've done a good job of sort of making that work. But I think they need to, like, really lean into that, because the show kind of grinds to a halt just as a viewer when he's trying to give analysis. But it almost uplifts the show when he's not, like when he's almost free from that, where like Herbstreit and the other guys on the panel, whoever happens at Desmond and Pollock and all those guys, when they give the analysis, that's when you get your hard-hitting stuff. The passion, particularly with Tom Rinaldi not being there, those types of feel-good moments are gone. That storytelling's gone. I think you almost need Corso to fill that realm as long as you divide the show up carefully. I agree with you. I was glad to see him, and I hope they do right by him this year.
William Qualkenbush, again, one final thing for you, Qualk, and we'll get you out of here. Trevor Lawrence this weekend. I mean, they were a little quicker, a little snappier with the play calling, some 5 wide sets, really getting the ball out of there. Great performance. Your kind of evaluation of his 3-game preseason and what you expect to see from him in Jacksonville, because I still have, that was his backup offensive line for the most part, but I still have major concerns for him being the guy all season long there, just given the Swiss cheese in front of him, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I'll keep this very short and sweet for you, Swanee. It's still the preseason. He went from facing a top 10 defense in the Saints to facing a bottom 8 defense probably in the Cowboys. That's about as far as I'm going to go with it. You know what it did tell me, though, really? It tells me that the Jaguars at least are capable of playing to the level of the opposing defense. I was very worried that their offense would make opposing defenses look better than they were. But to me, the Saints performed like you would expect the Saints to perform, even though it's preseason and they're doing different substitutes, and things like that. So did the Cowboys, this past weekend. So, yeah, it was encouraging from that standpoint. I don't want to overload a whole bunch of expectations now, but that was the most encouraging thing. I now have hope that they're not going to score 10 every week and make every defense look like the 85 Bears.
Qualt, buddy, always appreciate you, man. Enjoy the games, plural form, this weekend, and we look forward to catching up with you next week to recap Clemson and Georgia.
Thanks, Swanee. We made it, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Yeah, man, you too. William Qualkenbush, again, he's on Twitter at Qualk Talk, 803-450-0086. We'll come back right after this. It is the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk, on a Monday afternoon. Again, our website, clemsonsportstalk.com. And hey, if you look down on your screen, if you're watching, head to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Over 130 new subscribers in what's going on 3 weeks now. I am excited. I think we can push the envelope towards it. I said 1,000 by game 6. Dude, I think we can stretch this thing out. I think we can hit 500 this week if you take the moment and hit that subscribe.
Heart Radio Music Festival. Text the nationwide keyword WIN to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's WIN to 200-200. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic. Sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive. Home of the best tire prices in Columbia. Guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Cleaning up the accident right now, 378 at Lucas Street. Also cleaning up Forest Drive at Willingham Drive. The traffic hazard still out, though. Peyton Place at Saddlefield Road. From the 103.5 FM WBLC Traffic Center, I'm Gary Mills with Columbia's most dependable traffic.
This report is sponsored by Think It Up. Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. A staggering 8 million tons of plastic ends up in the world's oceans every year. If current trends continue, our oceans could contain more plastic than fish by 2050. Do your part. Purchase items made from renewable or recycled content and recycle whenever possible. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
You won't believe the sale going on at Zero Res. Today only. When you mention Fox Sports 1400, you can get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $109. Call today at 803-262-4020 or schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
Let's get real. Big games deserve big TVs. This upgrade season, I, Dwayne Wade, have been righting TV wrongs, getting people the TV they deserve. With the Hisense U LED series with Quantum Dot Color and Dolby Vision Atmos, all the action feels like you're actually there. And it'll stream music from live radio stations, podcasts, and playlists of any moves or activities on iHeartRadio, all for free. So it sounds as smooth as it looks, a bit like me. Discover the range at Hisense.com.
Are you thinking about refinancing your home, but worried that closing costs could cancel out any money you'd save? Not with Cap Center's zero closing cost mortgages.
This is our 6th time using Cap Center. The quality of service was excellent, and the savings were substantial.
Cap your closing costs. Visit capcenter.com. Equal housing lender. Visit capcenter.com for rates, savings, and offer limitations. This ad contains real client feedback voiced by actors. NMLS ID 67717. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Sharing has never meant as much as it does now. We share the things we love most in life for the world to see. But what if we could actually do more with our sharing than just collect likes? What if this sharing could be used to make a difference? Now there's a place where we can put all that sharing to good use. The National MS Society is asking people to make a difference and share what they love with someone else who loves it too. Whether it's surfing, dancing, or whatever is important to you, we've created a place that'll help you get your experience out to the world. If you have a story, share it. If you have a solution, share that too. Join us at wearestrongerthanms.org, because together we are stronger.
We need you to help the Federation Center of the Blind continue its life-changing mission of opening more doors to blind South Carolinians. Please call us at 803-254-3777 or email nfbsc@sc.rr.com to see how you can volunteer or make a donation. Looking for South Carolina's favorite country? You'll find it at 97.5 WCOS.
Back with you here, Lawton Swan, on a Monday afternoon. Again, thank you for hanging out. If you got a comment, you can put it in over on the show there. And again, we want you to subscribe to the channel. Anthony says, let's go. It's game week. He shared the show. There are consequences for your actions, as Anthony is aware. So I have put him in the penalty box. Linda's been hanging out with us. She sounds depressed in hour number 1 a little bit when I was talking about Clemson losing, could potentially, could lose their second consecutive game or back-to-back games for the first time in a long time. Hard to believe, but and again, this will be a wraparound scenario, as I mentioned, so not in the same season, not the same team. You still have to go on back for that and to start under 500 and to be under 500. Boy, those are different scenarios. But again, we're right here on the precipice of Clemson and Georgia, September 4th, Charlotte, North Carolina. What a matchup. What a game. Appreciate Anthony and Linda stopping by, me and part of the program. Nick, too, also shared the show. Nick got to put you in the penalty box here. We got to put Linda back in the penalty box. Patrick's hanging out with us. Fred's in the house. Always good to have everybody being a part of the program. So today for me is always a fun day as well because we get our chance to hear from the coaches and players, and we'll have some of that audio coming up for you, not only today, but tomorrow. Then tomorrow's the Talking Tuesday. Then Wednesday after get to post practice with Dabo Sweeney. And next thing you know, it's game day. And honest to goodness, I can't wait for this matchup and really looking forward to being in Charlotte. I will have some Clemson Sports Talk swag in tow if you see me. Shout out, say Swanee. Hookmeup.com with a t-shirt. And I know some of you who tune in are always like, man, where'd you get that shirt? They're out there. It's the Clemson Sports Talk gear. I got one behind me. This is actually the thing behind me. There aren't many of these. I don't know if I can get to it right now without leaving the airwaves maybe a little too long. But this is a hoodie. I think I only got about 6 of these hoodies made. Not many. I can pull that off the rack and bring it over here. But yeah, we got the t-shirts, the multicolored. I mean, check this out, man. There we go. Not how hot because it's gonna make you sweat, but look at that. Got the 16, the 18, and the 81 all worked in there on the national champions. Woo, boom goes the dynamite, right? So everybody likes those. So I will have some of those with me. If you see me in Charlotte, certainly we'll give them away. I'll have some decals. I got some Clemson Sports Talk pins. So it's always a good time. And if you've never subscribed to our show, go do it. Fred did. Fred got it. Fred subscribed. Look at there. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate you, man. Patrick says, spot the ball. I'm ready for some Tiger football. Yeah, I do think that, the thing about this and kind of what I was talking to with Qualk, that Clemson is going to have to combat if they lose this game. They are going, and look, there's not a whole lot that Clemson can do about it because it's kind of out of their control if indeed they do come up short. And that's the narrative of what this league is. That's why it may be of some level of significance that Miami looks good against Alabama. That's why it may be of significance if Florida State could find a way to beat Notre Dame, a team that some people have in the college football playoff. That's another reason it would be significant for Louisville to not just be competitive against Ole Miss, but to win that game against Ole Miss. And so from the standpoint of what Clemson can control, which is only their 60 minutes of game action every week, there's probably not a lot in the way of stopping them. And I've said this for a while now. I believe Clemson is more likely to lose a regular season game if they win Saturday than if they lose Saturday. Because I think you open yourself up for a game where you maybe overlook somebody. If you lose Saturday, I think you're locked in the rest of the way. I really do. And the other thing about that is that if you assume you lose to Georgia and you win out, what respect do you get going through the ACC? And at this point, it is slim. And I think you would kind of have to hope that in Oregon doesn't go undefeated, that in Oklahoma doesn't go undefeated, that in Ohio State doesn't go undefeated, and that in Alabama or even in Georgia doesn't go undefeated. And even if Georgia doesn't, but they beat you heads up, they're probably in too. So it is certainly a marquee game and a key game for Clemson to get back to where they've wanted to be. But I did find some of what Clark mentioned about, polling people and to see how Clemson fans feel. And I think most people feel pretty confident about it. And I didn't think that any conversations this weekend about Georgia winning a national title and all of that stuff hurt either. I mean, that to me is an advantage for Clemson, that they were able to sit back and hear people talking up the Bulldogs. Again, lots of great football games this weekend. North Carolina and Virginia Tech on Friday at 6 o'clock. Games get rocking and rolling on Thursday. I mean, South Florida and NC State on Thursday on the ACC Network at 7:30. This is the time of the year I love, man. We are about to walk right into the best time of the year, and I can't wait. All right, Tony Elliott spoke earlier today to the members of the media assembled at Clemson. We also heard from Brent Venables, a host of other players. We can't get you all of that here on the show on a Monday afternoon, but we will rock a little Tony Elliott for you here, like a fresh haircut on Tony Elliott. He's in the fresh tight ends room and a fresh haircut. We'll let you hear from Tony Elliott on Clemson Sports Talk right after this. By popular demand, Great Southern Homes now lists their coming soon communities online. Whether you're looking for a new home in your hometown, moving to a new town, or just want your pick of choice lots, this is the place to start. Great Southern Homes invites you to put the wow in your new home with options and upgrades. Live green, live smart in your new green smart home. Show your style and personalize your new home with options and upgrades from Great Southern Homes. Find your dream home today. GreatSouthernHomes.com.
Men, this summer, don't sit on the sidelines. Get in the game. Live your life spontaneously and don't struggle with erectile dysfunction any longer. Peak Performance for Men can help you today. Naturally, no pumps, painful needles, or dangerous pills. Peak Performance has an 85% success rate, helping thousands of men achieve their erections naturally and spontaneously. It is a pain-free alternative to surgery. Linear compression therapy. Stop suffering. Pick up the phone and call now. 803-302-8181. That's 803-302-8181. Peak Performance for Men can help you today. They are professional, discreet, and have an all-male staff. Go to peakperformanceformen.com or call 803-302-8181. That's 803-302-8181. Peak Performance for Men. Live your best summer.
Now your chance to win $1,000 and a trip to our iHeartRadio Music Festival. Text the nationwide keyword WIN to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rate supply in the nationwide contest. That's WIN to 200-200.
Hi, this is Dan Patrick, and here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
The Deshaun Watson to Miami trade rumors are heating up. The Dolphins clearly want him, and they're clearly ready to move off Tua if they can. The reality is Tua can win, but he can't win big. They know where he stands in the AFC quarterback pecking order behind Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Herbert. Just to start, knowing Deshaun's legal issues, this would be a huge gamble for Miami to take. I'm Colin Cowherd.
Hey, rocket scientists, look no further than the next big thinker. First-in-class technology, a leader in innovation, and an intelligence not yet seen from an SUV. The 2021 Mercedes-Benz GLE. Learn more at MBUSA.com.
The free iHeart app is ready for back to school. Bring your favorite station as your study partner. Share the songs you love with your closest friends and impress your teachers with your expert knowledge from podcasts like Stuff You Should Know. Plus, when you need a playlist to focus, just create your own for free. We make it super easy. Start with one song and we'll fill in the rest. Whether you love school or don't, we got you covered. Bring the free iHeart app everywhere. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts all in one.
iHeartRadio.
Every year, Steve Faircal climbs the stairs at the John Hancock Center in Chicago, 94 floors to the top.
It's called the hustle up the Hancock.
It's hard to believe when you watch Steve today that a few years ago, his lungs were failing and he was fighting to survive.
For 8 hours a day, someone was pounding on my chest to try and keep my lungs clear. I honestly don't think I had more than a couple weeks to live.
That's when Steve received the gift of life, a double lung transplant made possible by an organ donor.
After I got my new lungs, I started doing things that I had never been able to do. I never knew that breathing could feel this good.
Steve climbs to honor his donor and to raise awareness for organ, eye, and tissue donation.
Wouldn't you like that when you left this beautiful planet, that you could save a few lives on your way out? It's an incredible gift.
Imagine what you could make possible by leaving behind the gift of life. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Fox Sports Radio 1400, serving Columbia at 1400, and the world on the iHeartRadio app.
The show that shakes the Southland on a Monday afternoon. Again, Clemson and Georgia kicking it off in Charlotte. The marquee matchup. Fighting like cats and dogs. Always awesome to hook up with Georgia. I don't know anybody that says, man, you know what I hate? I hate playing Georgia. Now, I do know people that say they hate going there. Now, that's something that I've heard. You know, people they don't like going to Georgia. For a ball game because of the fans. The old joke used to be that when you take on Georgia in Athens, you want to take a red and black shirt into the game so that if you win or if you lose, you can get out of there free and clear. Now, we'll hear from Tony Elliott in just a few minutes, but I did want to update you on this. Kirby Smart a while back had said that, you know, he was expecting this group to be basically full tilt. And that included Eric Gilbert. Well, the news coming out today out of Athens, Kirby Smart saying there's no update on Eric Gilbert. Quote, he's not with us right now. Now, that comes just a few weeks after Gilbert left the program back in early August. Eric Gilbert is one of the top tight ends in the country, arguably when he's on the field. And I thought, and you can go back and check the archives. Remember, I said, look, if Eric Gilbert's out there coming off of the transfer portal and you're Clemson, you got to go get this kid. Because if he ends up at Georgia, you might open the season against him. And that's sort of what was unfolding. But with the personal issues Eric Gilbert's currently dealing with, I don't know if and when you'll be able to hear anything or see Eric Gilbert on the field. I have heard speculation that this is dealing with his child and possibly an illness. I have no verification of that other than sort of the grapevine on that front. But, I mean, at this point, what are we? 4 or 5 days away. I hate trying to include the day that you're on. You got wake ups left, right? You got to wake up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So you got to wake up 5 more times before this Clemson Georgia matchup. And it sounds as if Eric Gilbert's not going to be a part of this ball game on that front. 803-450-0086. All right, several texts to get to here and some that I missed from last week, so I do apologize. John. Nope, that's old. Thanks, John. I'm glad I got that. Chuck, Tiger Chuck, talking about sort of the breakout players, or sort of the player that's going to have a big game. He says it's going to be Ross. Clemson will be pass heavy and they can't cover him. Definitely look for the ends to have a good day too. He said, also think you'll see Landon Sanders have a good tackling day. He should get the opportunity because the safeties will be coming downhill this game. So again, that's Tiger Chuck. He reached out to us the other day. And whether you listen to the podcast or live, you can always hit us up, 803-450-0086. 803-450-0086. This note comes to us from an unnamed texter. Let me see. Sometimes I do have the name stored in my app here. Double O says, after looking over our defense this year, the Mighty Tigers are looking really good. That should be the strength, I think, initially. Honestly, Clemson's defense should be very impactful early on, and hopefully impactful enough in this game to cause a couple of turnovers. Because I think game one's going to come down to who turns the ball over and who doesn't. I'll be honest. I think the team that loses the turnover battle probably loses this game. Billy says, Swanee, our seats are in the north stands on that corner of the stadium, and as a little kid, we would always look around to see what the uniform combination was going into the game, what the Tigers were wearing, if the Tigers were wearing orange breeches when they were boarding the buses. Again, that going back to Friday's show. Appreciate that comment, Billy. Sorry we missed it on Friday, where I was talking about the pregame for Clemson and Georgia just a couple of years ago in Death Valley and how exciting that was in so many ways, just to be able to experience that and follow the buses around the stadium and have that story told. Nick says it's game week. Let's go Tigers. Again, you can text the program anytime, 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086. And Linda also says she's a little bit nervous. Final thing from the text line. You guys are crushing it, man. You guys are incredible on the text line today. This message comes to us from unnamed. I don't have this name for whatever reason. This texter says, I gotta say the lock of the year right now is the under on the Clemson Georgia game. I mean, I'm looking at either team struggling to get 7 points, and I would be shocked if either team hit 20. I'm looking for 18, 21. Not sure what that number means. Type game. We talked. All right, there we go. Actually, I think that might be a voice message. I'll tell you what we'll do. I think that's a voice message. I'm going to get that voice message in. We're going to get Tony Elliott in here on a Monday afternoon to get game week. Game week. And if I have time, I'll give you the rundown of all the games that are taking place this weekend in the Atlantic Coast Conference as well. Plus, we just got moments ago in the studio the game notes. That's right. Clemson, Georgia game notes are now out. I can't wait to dive into these with you as well over the next few days as we roll along towards Clemson and Georgia in the Queen City to kick off the college football campaign. Again, 803-450-0086. Let's see what we've got. Bruce subscribed. Put him in the penalty box. Bruce is in the penalty box. We're penalizing you for sharing and subscribing. Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it, man. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back. We'll hear from Tony Elliott. I promise you, right after this.
You won't believe the sale going on at Zero Res. Today only. When you mention Fox Sports 1400, you can get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $109. Call today at 803-262-4020 or schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
Hey guys, Lawton Swan here. I was hanging out in the backyard with my son Mason a couple of years ago, and he said, "Dad, you're the best father ever." When I asked him why, he said, "Because when I go outside to play, I don't get eaten up by the bugs anymore." Imagine that, me, a hero, when all I did was call my good buddy Trey Powell at Mosquito Joe. With their routine service plan, no more bugs and no more bites. Make yourself the family hero. Call Mosquito Joe today, 803-223-7916. That's 803-223-7916. Outside is fun again.
The IRS is ramping up collection, and if you owe back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, listen carefully. Before it's too late, check your eligibility for the Fresh Start program still offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax problems. Call our special hotline number now and find out in minutes if you qualify for these life-changing debt reduction programs. Business or personal, if you're in a payment plan with no end in sight, have unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to know your options, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief and stop collections immediately. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau with a 5-star rating from Yelp, this veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. Call their hotline number now, 800-781-3626. That's 800-781-3626. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-781-3626 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Nielsen says more than 30 million Americans are now tuning into Newsmax TV. It's one of the biggest media stories. Newsmax is available on all major cable systems. And if you cut the cord and don't get cable, you can still get Newsmax. Find it on your smart TVs like Samsung, LG, and more. Just go to your smart TV channel guide or download the free Newsmax app. Newsmax also streams free on Roku, Zumo, Pluto, Amazon Fire, or TiVo. And 7 million people have the Newsmax app on their smartphone. It takes seconds to download it to your phone, and there's no paywall or subscription. So watch Newsmax for breaking news anytime, anywhere. Forbes described Newsmax as a news powerhouse. Find out why tens of millions of Americans are watching Newsmax TV and going to Newsmax.com for breaking news. It's a source you can trust. Newsmax is real news for real people.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I'd like kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure.
Tomorrow?
Let's check with Mom. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm going to return the kayak. Let's make sure you have everything.
Yep. Can we walk home?
How about a
taxi?
233 North Maple, please.
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood.
Best day ever.
A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Live music is back at our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Listen every weekday to win your way to this ultimate once-in-a-lifetime experience and win $1,000.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
Again, subscribe today to the show. Let us know. We'll also put you in the penalty box. Several things to get to before we hear Tony Elliott, so I want to make sure we squeeze these in. Philip says, just how much better could Clemson be if they really used a transfer portal like some of those other schools do? Man, Philip, that's a great question because there's pluses and minuses in my opinion. I'd love to have a lengthier conversation on this front because you could talk about the impact that maybe bringing guys in from the portal has on the community that you've established and sort of the culture that you've built in your program. So that is a great question though, Philip. Love it, man. Come back, hang with us, send us some more questions because that's an in-depth one. As a matter of fact, if I can bookmark this in my brain, I'll jump back on that one tomorrow because that is intriguing, especially given the fact, look, Ches Malusi just named the number 1 running back at Wisconsin. Former Clemson guy, going to be the starter at Wisconsin. DeMarcus Bowman, what if he has a big year at Florida? Former 5-star who was committed to Clemson, was here for about a bag of like a snack pack, and then left last year. That's a good question. All right, so Tony Elliott was asked earlier today about going up against, speaking of the running game, going up against this tough Georgia defensive front that doesn't give up a ton of yardage. Here's what Tony Elliott had to say about going up against those guys in the season opener.
The biggest thing is you got to keep them honest, and you got to set the tempo in the trenches. And so when we're at our best is when we're balanced and we can run the football. But as you said, number 1 rush defense last 2 years, they're built to stop the run. They support the run from the secondary level very, very well. But you're gonna have to generate a run game. And we saw that last year when we played up at Notre Dame. We didn't have enough run game to keep them honest, so you become one-dimensional. So I think you're not necessarily going to put a statistical number on it, but it's got to be effective. If you can be effective, then it sets up some of your other things. And understanding too that it may not just be a traditional handoff that you count as run game. You may have to use some of your outlet screens, your RPO game to supplement in the run game. But I'm excited for the guys because I think up front they understand that they've been challenged every day since the last performance that they had, and rightfully so. We didn't have our best against Ohio State, but we understand in order to win, you got to win in the trenches on both sides. And so these guys have taken that challenge. They've been really, really tested this fall camp with the scheme and the personnel on our practice field. So we're excited to have an opportunity to play somebody else.
Again, Tony Elliott talking about this Clemson Tiger running game. And then he was also asked about the starting and the personnel and trying to figure out who's going to be the guy. I just mentioned Malusi being named the guy at Wisconsin, former Clemson running back. DeMarcus Bowman, his role and impact at Florida. Here's what Elliott had to say about the starting running back for your Tigers as we are less than a week away from kickoff.
Good question, man. We're trying to figure that out. You see, I was a few minutes late. We're still in there having some meetings with Coach Sweeney talking about personnel. But it's been competitive, just like we talked about last spring. Probably the most competitive position has been the running back position. So I'm excited to see how that unfolds. And same thing up front. We've had some to replace the center, so we've been working some different guys at center, and trying to find, some guys that can go inside. If you move like a Bockhorst per se, if you move him to center, who's going to be that next guard? Okay, if Bockhorst is not the guy at center, then who's going to be the center? So we have a ton of competition, going into this last week, and we may not know until, 7, what time we play, 7:30? We may not know who's running out there first, but it's a good thing because it's competitive. And it keeps those guys hungry, and then they're going to be grateful and appreciative of their opportunities when they do get them. Game day.
So not just talking about the running back situation, also the offensive line and figuring out the personnel and trying to make that work and the center and I mean, it's wild. It's wild because you've I think for years with Tony Elliott, he's been fortunate that you've kind of known, especially in the backfield, who's going to be the guy out of the gates, but. Still, trying to figure that out. Now, the other thing, and we'll get to here, the final thing, I guess, if we can squeeze it in, just Tony Elliott talking about the health of the running back situation and how things are going as far as those guys health-wise.
Yeah, it's been actually knock on wood because that's a position right there. Anytime you go into camp, those guys get hit a lot. They do a lot of things in the protection standpoint, but so far we've been pretty healthy at the running back position.
So the Tigers have been pretty healthy, according to Tony Elliott, at the running back position. And again, all of that just getting set for their matchup against the Georgia Bulldogs coming up on Saturday. Checking the clock. I believe, mathematically speaking, I can squeeze this one in. Tony Elliott was asked about just sort of the depth on the offensive front and working all that out. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I think for us, we learned last year that you got to have depth. And we didn't have any depth on the offensive line. So we were counting on 5 guys. So we feel better about our situation going into it. We feel, good with about 9 guys that we feel like right now, could go play winning football for us. So you would like to be set in place, going into the first game, but we don't see it as a negative. We got a week. All those guys have gotten reps, and for us, it's really just keeping the competition level up. And as we finish of the final touches on the game plan this week, then we'll know once we get to the end of the week who needs to be the first 5 guys to run out there.
Tony Elliott talking about Clemson's offensive line. Again, thank you for everybody who stopped by and hung out with us today. You know how much we appreciate it. Head over to our YouTube channel right now. Hit subscribe. I mean, if you're watching our YouTube channel right now, there's probably something about to pop up over here on the sides, but again, it is an exciting time, I think, for everybody as the college football campaign is getting closer and closer, and matchups kicking off. I think some games on Wednesday, but really Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to be a long weekend, lots of football. Man, I can't wait. We got to get out of here until tomorrow. As always, y'all take care now, and go Tigers.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Reports of an accident with injuries, Palm Branch Road at Bethlehem Circle. Also, road construction still going on I-26 westbound at mile marker 91, and an accident St. Andrews Road at Fernandina Road. From the 103.5 FM WVOC Traffic Center, I'm Gary Mills with Columbia's most dependable traffic.
This report is sponsored by Ozzy.com.
Get smarter every day at Ozzy.com. Try a new news site that tells you about the most interesting people, places, and ideas. Discover the next Obama, or maybe the next LeBron James. Try OZY.com right now. Ozzy, it's like a latte for your mind. Get some.
I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice. Our friends at the Peace in the Streets Global Film Festival are introducing their Kids, Cops, and Kindness Equals Safer Streets initiative. And this promotes the United Nations 11th Sustainable Development Goal. I'm inviting everyone, 18 and under, to visit psgff.com to learn how to create a short video about how you envision creating peace in the streets and enter it into this year's Peace in the Streets